The federal government has increased the single-digit loan access for small businesses to 5 million naira, aiming to drive inclusive economy growth. The Bank of Industry, the BOI, will disburse 75 billion naira to micro, small and medium enterprises at a 9% interest rate. This initiative expects to create thousands of jobs and boost business operations. The government emphasizes supporting MSMEs, recognizing them as the backbone of the Nigerian economy. Now, over 800,000 Nigerians have already benefited with a focus on inclusivity for youth, women, and physically challenged. The loan tenure is 3 years, and applicants can access the funds directly from BOI without intermediaries. And now to further discuss this, I'm joined by Dr. Femi Egbeshola, President Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria. You're welcome here, sir. Now, Femi, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, how do you think the federal government's decision to increase single-digit loan access for small businesses to 5 million naira will impact the small business community in Nigeria? And also, while you're at that, what effects do you anticipate will be most significant?
Well, to start with, I think we need to commend the federal government for choosing to increase the fund to 5 million at this time. Some of us have been advocating for this, that 1 million naira may not really do much with the ongoing inflation rate in the country and other challenges that small business owners have in this time. So it's a good news for us. And for the impact, it really is going to have a lot of impact because many of our members no longer have access to finance through the commercial banks because of the very high interest rates of the bank loans. So this comes to us at a very cheap rate and it is affordable for us. And we believe that it is going to create a lot of jobs. It is going to create a lot of jobs because it will increase our productivity. It will help us be more competitive. It will help us have more fun to do our businesses, which will in return create more indirect jobs too. And at the same time to help us be able to take our product outside Nigeria to compete globally with the new fund that we'll be having access to.
All right, Femi, 75 billion naira. Can you share your thoughts on the Bank of Industry's plan to actually disperse this amount, 75 billion naira, to micro, small, and also medium enterprises at just 9% interest rate, and how this might influence the growth of small businesses in the country?
That's the only way. That's the only place for now that you can get 9%. 9% is very attractive when it comes to funding to small business owners, and I'm sure that many small business owners would like to take advantage of it. But then we must also understand that this has some hurdles along the line. You will discover that many intervention funds from government most times do not have the expected impact over time. And this is because most times the real beneficiaries are supposed to get the fund may not really be able to get the fund. Some of us have been trying to get the loan application portal open over time, which is already challenged at this point. If you go to the portal now, the website, the link is not opening for application. And you also discover that there are other documentation that are required in the process that may be difficult for some of the small business owners to be able to access. You also note that in the population of 40 million small business owners, a loan for a beneficiary of about 75,000 business owners is a far cry compared to the population, which may not really have the expected effect that we wish it to have overall. Again, too, we have been advocating that it is important for government to collaborate with the critical stakeholders when it comes to policies that has to do with the MSMEs. We would have expected government to engage key stakeholders in the MSME ecosystem to co-create and co-hold this intervention fund together so that we can easily monitor the performance of the loan and eventually see how we can take lessons from it and compare notes with other countries that are doing intervention and get better results beyond what we have been getting before now. Yes, it's a good platform for us to get loans up to 5 million at 9% interest rate, but at the same time, we need to also look at other critical areas that needs to be considered for us to have key metric performance indicators to show that this loan is actually being able to impact effectively on the sector that it should be.
While we're monitoring these metrics, what about accessibility to these loans? How easy would it be for these small businesses to actually access it?
It's not really easy to access the loan, as it has always been in the past. When it comes to government grants, it's easy to access. But when it is loan, it is very difficult because, like I did mention the other time, some of the documentation required are not accessible and affordable for quite a number of small business owners. You know, many of the small business owners are in the informal sector. If you look at it today, among the 40 million MSMEs we have, 85% of them are in the informal sector who are not yet structured. So it is difficult for them to meet up with this. And you would wonder that most times intervention programs like this, a lot of the loan is still in the pocket of the funders because it is not accessible. We are looking beyond just raising the fund to 5 million, but making it also very more accessible to the entrepreneurs that needs this fund. And one way to go about it is to also work with business membership organizations. We believe that the business membership organizations have the details and the people that are in entrepreneurship that are forming businesses, and will be able to support government in generating those who are real business owners. Most times, this fund goes to the hands of those who are not real business owners. We call them political business owners at the detriment of the real business owners. So we need to begin to look at how to plug all these gaps so that eventually the expected outcomes of governments will be met, such that businesses will be able to grow and thrive with this loan, and will also increase employment and create more jobs. And at the same time, be able to scale businesses to the point of exporting to other countries, generating more funds for government, and building the structures that is binding the MSME sector, which is the engine of growth of the economy.
Now, Dr. Egbesola, I see here that over 800 Nigerians have already benefited from this initiative. So with a focus on inclusivity for youth, women, and also physically challenged, how do you think this focus on inclusivity will impact the small business community? And what opportunities or challenges might also arise from the approach?
Yes, really, the youth, the women, and the physically challenged are those that are most vulnerable. So for the fact that this funding policy is recognizing this particular subsector and is ready to cater for their needs by including them in this list, is a welcome development. And I think it will also help them to be able to grow. They have it very challenging to access funds. They have it very challenging to also be able to grow their businesses over time. And these are the sector we need to be looking at and how to support them. So to us, it's a welcome development. But even beyond that, we should make it affordable and accessible to them. This particular, the youths, many of them are in the startup stage of their businesses and may not be able to have some of the documentation that government requests, like according to the application portal for this particular loan. We will encourage government to look at how they can ease off this documentation process and be able to make it possible for this particular focused group, the youth, the women, and particularly the physically challenged ones, to be able to come on board and actually see the benefit. Then talking about the 800,000 you mentioned, we would also want government to be more transparent about beneficiaries of any form of intervention they do. They should be verifiable, and there should be ways and manner that key stakeholders can verify some of these claims. Yes, we have had that 800,000 people have benefited, but if you ask me from our own point of view, in our own association, it's still a very far cry from the announced figures. And we should be part of those who will be monitoring and evaluating any of this process, particularly when it comes to funding for MSMEs, because we are key stakeholders in the ecosystem.
Well, Dr. Femi Egbesola, I want to say thank you very much for joining us with your expert opinion on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.